Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Kenman. I am the Director of Industry for Boomi, and I am here co-leading our episode with Wheels Up. Wheels Up, this is our first episode we're launching. We are going to be focused on electrification, global urgency and sustainable solutions, digital connected infrastructure, and rapidly advancing technologies, which has ushered our aerospace industry into an exciting period of innovation not experienced since the dawn of aviation. Join us today as we explore today's dynamic industry with distinguished visionaries, changemakers, policy creators, and the innovative ideas that are cultivating new frontiers across aviation, space, and defense. We are excited to announce our special guest speaker today, Robin Toth. She is Washington Governor's Director of Aerospace and Sector Lead. And don't miss this episode of Wheels Up, The Future of Flight with Jessica Kinman and Alex Ramirez. So as we start heading this off, I want to share a little bit about the organization that Robin works for and some of her background. Washington State's been at the forefront of aviation. We all love it here. That's why we live here. That's why we work here. And that's why we support all of our organizations here. Our aerospace industry is fantastic. They've been around for more than a century, designing and building some of the most advanced and successful commercial and military aircraft. We've done uncrewed aerial systems and space exploration vehicles. And then in 2022, the Aerospace Competitive Economic Study kicked out, ranking and confirming Washington as #1 in labor productivity, aerospace sales and exports, and of course, our aerospace engineers. A little bit about our guest speaker today. Robin and I actually ran into each other in Paris at the air show in 2009. I got coaxed into getting on a boat. The boat took off, so I couldn't get off and run anywhere. So I actually ran into Robin and learned a lot more about what the Washington State Department of Commerce Economic Development and Competitive Office does, which offers business entrepreneurs and investors an impressive array of consulting and supporting services. They help develop our communities and statewide economy. Once you get in, you don't get out because they are fantastic in their innovation and getting people on board and just driving that passion throughout the state. Prior to joining the Department of Commerce in 2008, as the Director of Economic Development for the aerospace sector, Robin was also the Vice President on Business Development for the Greater Spokane and Spokane County's Associate Development Organization. During her 13 plus years with GSI, Robin worked with more than 100 companies that selected the Spokane region for their corporate relocation and expansion projects. These projects created an economic impact of more than $1 billion to the area, and the companies created almost 10,000 jobs. She also served the city of Spokane as a project manager, working on the Spokane University District formation and an award-winning EPA brownfields cleanup of a former railroad site. Her experience includes positions as marketing communications director for information technologies, companies like Sienna, Alcatel, and Itron. Like I said, Robin's background is fantastic, so we are going to throw questions at her today. Alex is going to help me kick that off. So now I'm going to throw it over to Alex to introduce himself.
Alex Ramirez, co-linear principal at Co-linear Group, been in the industry aerospace for 20 plus years and super passionate about all the innovation that's happening in aerospace and aviation. And Robin, we're so thankful and grateful to have you on our first episode. So of everything that's happening, Robin, right now across the industry, right, and all the investment that's going in, what has you most excited, right, between sustainability and electrification and digital infrastructure? Is there something in particular that really excites you and you're seeing in the state as far as trends?
Well, everything that you said just now, Alex, and what Jessica talked about too. And thank you very much for having me. I'm really excited to be here on your launch show. So we'll kind of get started on this. I think I am super excited about sustainable aviation. I love our legacy aviation work, but we need to make a change in order to really save our world and to make sure that future generations can exist in a healthy way. So we've been working with a number of companies across the spectrum that are really focused on this, whether it's in electric aviation, and we've seen some test flights, hydrogen, and we've also seen test flights in hydrogen and hybrid. So that's really exciting. What we think is the first step, though, and we've been working on this for years, is sustainable aviation fuel. And we know that that's really going to be the first type of propulsion that is already occurring now. It's really going to increase exponentially over the next few years. But we know that electric and hydrogen and hybrid are really going to be part of the future. So we're investing in them now as a state and really looking forward to what comes out of all of their plans.
It's
Very cool. I think
exciting.
there was a really cool metric on that, right? Deloitte always kicks out their annual industry report, and their 2023 report actually just identified that 80% of global aerospace manufacturing companies will in some way incorporate an environmental sustainability in their products by 2024. I mean, that's very close. So it's great already seeing it start to roll out, especially here in Washington, where we're representing pretty much every one of those major categories.
Absolutely. I'm glad that we're leading this, just like we've led aircraft manufacturing for more than a century. You know, this is really the next right step for us.
So related to that, Robin, there was an announcement not too long ago between Payne Field and the Washington State University, right, for this research and development for sustainable aviation fuel. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? It's pretty exciting.
It is. It's very exciting. So they are looking at creating kind of a test bed, I guess I would call it, where they're using different types of sustainable fuels and monitoring what's going on there. And that's really an ideal place for that. Payne Field is one of our really exciting airfields, and you have a lot of sustainable companies right around that. So it makes perfect sense that they're doing that. And this site will be a repository of SAF samples from around the globe. And so they'll be able to test those and make sure that we're looking at the right way to develop SAF in the future. SAF is working now. You're flying it all the time, especially if you're in Washington State, especially if you're flying Alaska Airlines. You know, a little blurb for them right there. But we're very happy to be the hometown of Alaska. So we know that this is really an incredible opportunity, and I'm looking forward to learning more about that process and helping to really drive investment in sustainable aviation fuels in Washington State.
I think that location of Payne Field, to Robin's point, is just fantastic because the center, we have education there. So not only is it we have that the safe fuels, that pipeline around that area to get people excited about research and green technologies. You have Snow Isle Technical Center there. You have the Center of Advanced Manufacturing. Both of them have aerospace programs that could potentially just feed right into helping with some of those projects.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, we always want to make sure that we connect our industry with our workforce, and that's an ideal place to do it. And we're really excited about the potential for the future there. As I said, we know that this is really that on-ramp, and we've been using it. But, you know, what are the different types of other technologies and blending efforts that we're going to figure out? You know, we're very fortunate as a state as well. You know, not only do we have this legacy of more than a century of aviation, but we're also a very agriculturally diverse state. And so we have wood waste here, we have field stubble, we have all of the things that kind of go into making sustainable aviation fuel. And it's been interesting getting connected with staff companies who see Washington State as an integral part of that supply chain.
That's exciting, Robin. So, you know, you talk about, you know, in your role, economic development and partnering with industry. Are there particular type of companies other than SAF companies that you'd like to see moving into the state, or maybe, you know, adjacent companies to everything that's going on at sustainability? Or as far as target, what kind of companies would you like to see more of here in the state?
Well, obviously, I'm focused on aviation and aerospace. So anything that flies, we want them here in Washington State. But, we have been approached quite a bit by sustainable aviation fuel providers and suppliers. And so that has happened over the last year. In our last trip to the Farnborough Air Show, we brought back several SAF producers. And I think that we're really, as we continue to invest, whether it's in the R&D center there in Snohomish County, or whether it's in sustainable flight technologies, maybe in Grant County and Moses Lake, that we're really seen as a leading entity in this supply chain. And so we're hopeful as we get ready to ramp up for the Paris Air Show, which occurs this June, that we are reaching out to those companies and affiliated companies so that we can really broaden what we have going on in Washington.
That's great. And I think like Washington State, like we offer a lot of resources for that, whether they're startup companies or, I've been involved a lot with the startup company kind of ecosystem here. And, I've seen kind of two major programs this last year between Washington State launching the Innovative Cluster Development Program. They started bringing in companies through that to help put together, what's needed for the capital investments, helping with research and just training those entrepreneurs. And then I'm also involved in the Creative Destructive Lab through the Foster School of UW with their business school here in Seattle too. And we launched the manufacturing stream last year. And there were so many new startup companies that were focused on aerospace and space and how they could help from AI to programming to new products. Like there was a very big focus in that those startup companies coming in that had ideas that were innovative and they're trying to bring into this space. So I think we've kind of made this a safe space where here are resources. We have knowledge, we have founders, we have CEOs. We've done so much here the last couple of decades that it's really developing that entrepreneurial ecosystem to help these companies get support. So I think that's very attractive for some of these companies when they look at this area as well.
And I think another thing that we're fortunate to have is educated legislators, because, and I'm going to, put a lot of focus on one of my state legislators over here in Spokane County. Senator Andy Billig has a bill that has passed, which will help incentivize the production of sustainable aviation fuels in Washington State. And so we're so excited about that. So it's the production and also the utilization. We're very excited about that opportunity. And, we work really hard with our legislative team to ensure that they know, what the new technologies that are coming out, what are the things that, we could use as an overall industry to help bring additional companies to Washington State. But always first and foremost, we want to help the companies that are here.
Absolutely, Raman. Can we talk a little bit about new space, right? I think, commercialization of space is this growing economy and the segment that is really taking off. And specifically here in the Pacific Northwest, we have Blue Origin now, SpaceX, and this whole, ecosystem that's being built in the state. Can you share a little bit about what you're seeing, trends, and just kind of, the growth, the economic growth we're seeing and activity in that space?
Sure. Well, that is an exciting area. And, while we've been home to the space industry for more than 6 or 7 decades, it's really exciting to see these startups. We have the right type of climate here for them. We have the right type of infrastructure. And, one of the first companies that I met when I came on board was a startup called Starfish Space. And they're based in Tukwila, and they're building the Otter Tug. And what that will do is will really help maintain space where you don't have all of these different types of rocketry and satellites. Sometimes there can be a little bit of a traffic jam up there in space, and their Otter Tug will work to make sure that if you have a dying or a dead satellite, they can push that out of the orbit. So it's really exciting to have small companies like that, and they're growing exponentially in Tukwila. So very excited about them, but also excited about the things that the large companies are doing too. And like I said, we have this long legacy. We have great programs at our universities to help train, the next space scientists. So we're very fortunate to be diversified. We're not just about passenger aircraft. We're about, uncrewed systems. We're about space, commercial space, new space. And we have a lot of things that are really rising to the top in Washington State. We're not just an aircraft manufacturer, although we're very proud of that legacy, but we're also have the infrastructure to support all these other elements as well. So we're very fortunate in that.
And I think those, like when I'm involved, kind of in industries across the board, that knowledge, cross training between aerospace and space is so close, utilizing the same people and resources. You have a chunk of that can be reused, or at least start a base foundation of that you can build up on top of it. And, I'll plug in, I mean, we all kind of know Stan Shaw if you're in the state at all. I absolutely love Stan's space ecosystem mapping, where he's starting to show and work with these companies and place them to show that entire upstream, downstream, the different categories and stuff that we're starting to bring in and attract and build out. So I think having, not only those companies, but being able to put those companies together to show the full ecosystem that we're covering allows us to look at maybe areas we want to invest. I know, Alex, you're asking her, where do we want people? I mean, the fact that our state is even looking at it like that is already one step ahead, saying, hey, we might need someone in this area to really round out this ecosystem. I think we're way ahead with that.
Yep, our work is definitely to try to help fill the gaps. And so if somebody says, it would be great if we had this X kind of company. And so we're trying to ensure that our attendance at trade shows, air shows, et cetera, is predicated around looking for those partnerships that are going to help us build out that ecosystem. So it's really important. I know a lot of people think, you're sending a whole bunch of people to an air show in France or the UK or Australia, but you have to meet people face to face. You have to meet them where they are, and you want to be able to show them what it is that Washington State can bring to their company. We're really a problem solver for them. In some cases, many of them want to have a connection to the supply chain. And that's very easy for us to do, or a connection to a university or a community college. So that's really a big role that we play. We're really a connector, as opposed to, we don't manufacture anything, we don't build anything, but what we're trying to do is help the supply chain, whether it's in uncrewed systems, whether it's in space, whether it's in commercial or defense. So really, it's an exciting opportunity to help companies, and you feel like you have really accomplished something when you do that.
And Robin, you talked about those booths. I believe Alex and you both can kind of talk about what are the perks of being a friend of Washington State when it comes to these large shows here.
Yeah, I'm go ahead, Ron.
No, go ahead, Alex.
I was going to say, for me as a company owner here in the state of Washington, the perks that you guys offer, right, for the community, being able to go to trade shows, for example, representing the state of Washington at Paris Air Show, right, as part of the delegation, and having STEP grants and all of the support from your team has been absolutely, invaluable, and it just makes it a no-brainer for us to participate and be part of the community, right? I love how you said connecting, and bringing the community together so we can meet face to face and really take the industry to the next level.
Right. Well, we look for ways to encourage and incentivize. So we're very happy to have our state trade, export, and promotional program. It is a grant that companies can apply for, and it lessens the cost of them being able to have a booth, being able to travel to the air show site, helping with, lodging and all of the elements of costs that go around with participating in an air show. And I think this will be our largest air show. I think we have something approaching almost 20 companies joining us in Paris, and it's one of the biggest booths we've ever had. And we're hoping at the end of the show, we talk to all of the companies and we want to make sure that they have the same experience that we think they should have had, or even a better experience, making connections with that global supply chain, because that's how, many of them are able to grow their business.
That's so exciting. And I think seeing the camaraderie of those companies getting behind the state and behind us and showing up. I mean, that's huge. Not only is that we have those, but they're there to talk about it too and support. So I think it's definitely kind of a two-way relationship. It's not just us showcasing, it's them being proud of kind of where they're coming from and where they're working at, which I think just makes our state that much more exciting to work with, to see that type of relationship with our companies and our industry and the state.
Robin, the state is, I mean, clearly, fertile ground for innovation, right, in aerospace and aviation and everything that's going on. It's really exciting to also see all the venture capital investment that's going into a lot of these startups. Can you talk about maybe some of the funding? I know that there's an event happening in the fall, right, with the Entrepreneurs Organization and Horizon X, who's Boeing's venture capital platform, to support, the state, and having you represented there. You mentioned Alaska Airlines, the community that's here. Just seeing the investment and all the innovation ideas and all these entrepreneurs coming together to see, how we all move the future together is incredibly exciting. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Well, I think we're really looking forward to that event. It's kind of one of the first of its kind. It's like our inaugural launch. And so I think it's really exciting. We can get, more information out to the listeners and viewers, if they're interested. But we are a community based on investments, whether they're investments by the state, by the cities, by the counties, or by the companies themselves. It's really what has driven this industry, and all the subsectors of the industry is making sure you bring people together. And that's really, we don't have a huge checking account that we can write out checks to companies. We do have some smaller accounts, but having this type of alignment between the entrepreneurs and, the other startups and the legacy industry is really important, because you can share that information. And it also helps us, we're not legislators, but communicate to our legislators. Here are things that are really going to make a difference in this industry. And I would say that this industry is so connected to all the other industries in our state that anything that is positive for aerospace affects IT, affects clean tech, because we have this very close alignment. And we're lucky that there's been so much investment in information technology here, and now clean technology. And that really helps, raise the visibility of what's going on in our sector, because as I said, we're connected. You can't disconnect us. We wouldn't be as successful if we were all, siloed in. So it's nice to see all of these different entities coming together.
Yeah, talking about that roller decks, I just ran into that with actually a couple of our space companies where they reached out to me through Women in Manufacturing saying, "Hey, I'm going from one shift to two shifts. Is there someone in the area that has done this before? And can I have a conversation with them about lessons learned and kind of what they went and what were those challenges, what worked, what didn't?" And like you said, kicked out the roller decks of, oh, here were four people. I reached out to them. All four of them were like, we would be happy to have a conversation with her, give some feedback. I mean, they were, like you said, right on the ball of, oh, yeah, we're willing to help, like no questions asked, and again, that makes me excited that it's,
Yeah, it
you just make
is.
a phone call. Yeah, connect us. Let me help out. Let me give some of that advice. And like you said, I really think that's what allows us to do quicker innovation and lower those learning curves when you throw these companies together to just talk about what you're doing and best practices versus having someone kind of out there by themselves, learning mistakes we've already learned.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So Robin, thank you so much for coming on. We'll turn it over here to our prepare for landing 3 takeaways. So I think our first takeaway, right, if you want to do business in aviation and aerospace, Washington State is a state to be, right? We're number one for a reason, a $70 billion industry supporting more than $250,000 jobs. There's a reason why the state is ranking number one, and a lot of the work that you and your team are doing, Robin. We can't, say thank you enough. And then as far as innovation, right, and what's happening across the industry right now, and we talked about electrification, sustainability, IT and digital infrastructure, and the investments that the state is making with venture capital firms like Horizon X and the Entrepreneurs Organization, and really launching the industry into this new era that we're in, is incredibly excited. And we're excited to partner with yourself, Alaska Airlines, and our local community here in the state to launch the industry into this next chapter. And then the last, we'll turn it over to you, Robin, if you just want to talk about you and your organization and everything you're doing here for the state and our community.
Great. Well, thank you. I appreciate the time to do this. So Washington State Department of Commerce, in our Office of Economic Development and Competitiveness, we work with companies that are in the state who are looking at challenges as they try to grow. We're also looking at companies that are looking at other locations. So we work with them to really tell the story about why Washington and why Washington is the best location for them. And then we go out to these international trade shows and national trade shows and recruit companies here to Washington. Many of them already know about our legacy and our history, but sometimes, they just need a little nudge to know that, Washington State would be a welcoming home for their manufacturing facility or their information technology efforts. So what we do is just promote what's going on. We really leverage our excellent supply chain, and we talk about our workforce. We have a workforce that really is second to none in aviation and aerospace. We have so many community colleges around the state. We have our universities. And so we really have great selling proposition for companies. And that is the work that we do on a day-to-day basis. We don't wait till we go to these shows, although the shows are really important. We do it every day. And we're very fortunate to have partners like the Entrepreneur Organization, like our supply chain members, and our legislators to help us do that.
I think Robin wrapped it up perfectly. In a summary, Washington State has it all, everyone. So if you are interested coming to the state, if you're already here for resources, feel free to reach out to Robin and her team at the Washington State Department of Commerce. And then overall, thank you everyone for joining Alex and I here at Wheels Up. If you are interested and excited to hear more, reach out to us to share both your innovation stories, what you'd like to see. If you have a awesome story that you would like to join us and share, feel free to reach out to us. Alex, any last words?
Thank you, Robin, for joining, and thank you, Jessica, for being co-host today. This is awesome. Looking forward to the next episode.
Thanks for the invite.